Are the sports leader with the Giants and Dodgers getting rained out. Not even 3 innings into this one. The Warriors with a tough loss. Now we're awaiting the news of Steph Curry. But I do want to officially get the show kicked off once our guy Raph is done multitasking and everything, because he's been running around like crazy. Big credit to him. But here's the deal, everyone. We're going to talk all about it. Warriors lose to the Bulls, 125-122. And Dubs OT with JD officially starts now.
Dub Nation. Time for the real and inside story on Warriors basketball.
Curry sidestep, Curry drive, Curry flip, Curry good!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on KNBR 104.5 and 6.8. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
Quinones from midcourt. Do it. So the Chicago Bulls, they hold off the Warriors 125-122. The story of the game is going to be the three-point shooting of Chicago. There's 16 made threes to the Warriors 11. They hold Steph Curry 12 under his average, and Curry's injured.
Yeah, tough one for Golden State. You hear the final call there as the Bulls come in to chase. They win at 125-122. And just to give everybody the update, which was really a non-update from Steve Kerr over at Chase Center, is we are live at Harmonic Brewing here in Thrive City, as we are after each Dubs game, and the Dubs now fall. Bummer of a night when you look at it, basically erasing last night's victory, and now Stephen Curry in limbo as far as his ankle. No real update from Steve Kerr. He said that Steph had his ankle in a bucket of ice post-game as he addressed the late-game loss to Chicago. So hadn't spoke to the training staff or anything about that, but Curry also trying to get that foot an ice bath after he was forced to leave the game with 3:51 to go. And the Warriors up by 3 points. So 808 KNBR is the number. If you want to give us a call or shoot us a text here on Dubs OT with JD on the Sports Leader, 808 KNBR. It's 415-808-5627. Too much Vucevic tonight. Too much DeMar DeRozan tonight. I thought the Warriors played a scrappy game, especially in the second half, but they did not have nearly the same energy that they had in the game last night. The Bulls were ice cold early. The Warriors were able to build a 13-point lead, but the game flipped in the final couple of minutes of the first quarter, and then Chicago dominated quarter number 2 and quarter number 3. That allowed them to get in the game, and I thought there were a lot of really scrappy Warrior performances in this one. Like, I don't think this was Jonathan Kuminga's best game by any means. He still had 19 points and was 5 of 11, but he was scrapping, 10 boards. I thought Moses Moody was scrapping tonight. Didn't make a 3, but ends up with 10 points and 9 boards himself. And so the Warriors were really fighting. Draymond a triple-double before he ends up fouling out, which was also a critical component of the end of the game there as the Warriors ultimately lose this one. But offensively, the Warriors with not their best effort. Steph finishes with 15. They didn't have the energy of last night, and Chicago has been a much more dangerous team since they got off to a horrible start early on in the season. The Bulls now 31-32, and this is a tough one. Warriors lose a game of ground on Dallas tonight, who won at home against Miami. Sacramento was toying around with the Spurs tonight in Sacramento. They were down big, then up big, then down again. Ended up with a late rally to steal that game by 2, so the Warriors drop a game in the standings to Sacramento. And again, we await Stephen Curry's injury status here with no firm update coming from Steve Kerr. And the Warriors set to play San Antonio themselves now Saturday and on Monday as they'll begin a road trip in San Antonio that will take them also to Dallas and to Los Angeles. So 808 KNBR, the number. Let's get it rolling with Connor in Dublin up first here on the Sports Leader. Connor, what's going on tonight, my friend?
How's it going, JD?
Yeah, it's going pretty well, man. A lot going on tonight, and unfortunately for the Warriors, not much of it good. They had all this momentum from the last 20 games or the last 18, if you want to go that route, as far as being 14-4. But they lose a little of the momentum by losing the game. But the big deal is obviously Stephen Curry, and they really have to hope that this is more of a day-to-day type of an injury than a 2 to 4, or I don't even want to say it, 4 to 6 week type of an injury.
Yeah, and I guess it's a real bummer tonight. If Curry's out for more than 2 games or so, or maybe even more than that, then I know this sounds drastic, but I think I can say goodbye to the play-ins. I'm just going to be honest, because I think Curry's a key component to getting into the play-ins. I mean, I have faith in this team without him, but you got to admit Curry really brings in that faith. That brings faith back into the team, making it far. But really big bummer tonight, and I really wish they could have won. But wishing goes nowhere, because they lost, and that's that, I guess. And it was a bit of a sloppy game.
Yep, they lost, and they're going to have to make it up. The problem is it gets a lot harder, Connor, to make it up without Stephen Curry. And look, this team has found a lot of depth in a lot of different ways over these last 6 weeks. The pieces have fit together. It's interesting. I thought tonight, for whatever reason, felt a little bit more like an early season game where the pieces didn't totally fit together. And then also, like Steve Kerr was searching for the right combinations a little bit more than he had been at other points, earlier in the season. And he sure as hell hadn't been doing it lately. But when you look at it, at the end of the night, Steph has only missed a couple of games this season. And so, when you look at that, like the last few years, Steph, he hasn't played, I think, 70 in 6 years. And he was on pace to play 70 games, and this was going to be the most that Stephen Curry had played. And, he still could get there in a lengthy, amount of time, talking about 6 years. So, they haven't had to overcome the 2 to 4 or 4 to 6 week Steph Curry injury. That's a big part of the reason why they have the record they did, despite the fact that they had, played pretty poorly up until the last month or 6 weeks themselves. So
and you remember when Curry was out last season, correct? Like, he was out for numerous games, and the Warriors were looking not good at all. And so, they
were not.
But that brings up a concern if he's out for like a couple weeks. Like, that could be really bad.
Yeah, and believe it or not, last year, and thank you, Connor, for the call. 808 KNBR is the number. It's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader, live at Harmonic Brewing, as Chicago beats the Warriors tonight by 3 over at Chase Center. And we await, probably not going to get it tonight with the injury. Steph, injured players don't have to speak to the media, so I don't think we're going to hear from Steph tonight. And then everybody will just kind of hold their breath in the Bay with the Warriors off day tomorrow as to the length of time that Steph is going to have to miss. They were actually 14-12 without Curry last year. And so, a big part of that, though, was as bad a season as Jordan Poole had. Jordan Poole really helped them in the games that Stephen Curry didn't play, and that helped sort of stabilize the entire season for the Warriors and prevented it from completely getting off the rails. This season, it's been the opposite in that the Warriors' season was prevented from getting completely off the rails because Stephen Curry had been able to miss just a couple of games over the first now 62 games this season. And so, the Warriors had really benefited, from the fact that they didn't have to find out what life without Stephen Curry was like. All right, let's get Nick in here, and then we're going to pause for a quick timeout. We'll try and get everything reset as far as some of the technical issues that we're having here. I think I've got an on-site solution to that for the guys back in the studio, but we're going to probably have to take a break and do a little mini reset to do that. So let's get Nick in San Jose at 808 KNBR. We do have a couple of lines open, and then we'll get everybody set up on YouTube and Twitch as well. What's going on tonight, Nick?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, is Steve Kerr galaxy braining it? Because I'll be honest, I know this isn't a playoff team, but I was really hoping for a fun game, and it looks like we're screwed. Thanks, Steve Kerr.
What was the question there, Nick? I couldn't quite hear you. Can you ask the question again?
Is Steve Kerr galaxy braining
Nick's
this?
gone. All right, I'm not Greg. I'm not hearing Nick, so we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and take that break. We'll get Nick's question in. We'll get things reset here out at Harmonic Brewing, and we'll react to what is one of the more difficult Warrior losses for a number of reasons on the season. So, Bulls beat the Warriors tonight over at Chase, 125-122. It's Dubs OT with JD here on KNBR, the sports leader.
Dubs OT with John Dickinson keeps rolling. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
DeRozan, he launches in from deep.
That was in rhythm there, even though Draymond was flying at him.
He doesn't take a lot of threes, but he's 3 of 5.
It's inside out for the Bulls. Warriors need to get better shots.
All right, back out here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. It's John Dickinson, Dubs OT with JD here on KNBR, the sports leader. We got Greg Silver on hand as well. Bulls beat the Warriors tonight. Final of 125-122. But the big story, Stephen Curry with the ankle tweak with 3:51 to go in this one. The Warriors were up 3 at that point when Curry went out. It was 112-109 in favor of Golden State. So the Bulls end up outscoring the Warriors from that point on by 6 to win by 3. Draymond Green also fouled out. Warriors kind of an up and down night. They end up putting up 122, but they were stymied at times by the Chicago defense. And as the game went on, just a low energy game for the Warriors early, and they allowed the Bulls to get really comfortable on offense. And when you allow a team to get really comfortable on offense, sometimes it's harder to stop them late in the game. And I thought that was a big part of what was going on in this game tonight for the Warriors and the Bulls. I mean, it was just too much Vucevic, 33, too much DeRozan, 33. DeRozan really owned Jonathan Kuminga in a couple of key possessions in the fourth quarter, with Kuminga trying to do all he could defensively against him. DeRozan got him to foul him a couple of times where DeRozan made the basket. One turned into an and one. DeRozan missed the free throw. Tough matchup for anybody. But, yeah, DeRozan, somebody, once he gets in a rhythm, he can really make any team and any defensive player in the league hurt in the mid-range and on the, with the post-ups and with the ability to draw a lot of fouls. And so DeRozan was in his bag in a big way and ends up with 33 points. And Kobe White has been outstanding of late for Chicago, and he ended up with 20 points and knocked down a couple of threes, and he's obviously somebody that's a really good defender. Stephen Curry didn't have his best offensive night. They were kind of carried by Klay Thompson's 15. Kuminga's ability to get to the free throw line while the Warriors needed those points. Kuminga was not close to in the rhythm that we see when Jonathan Kuminga is playing exceptionally well offensively, and Chicago really making the Warriors work in this one. And there were some players that shot it okay, but the Bulls able to keep guys like Podziemski to 11. Trace Jackson-Davis had 8, Moody had 10, but it was a bunch of guys for the Warriors after Klay's 25 that were all in the 10 basically to 15 range, and that wound up not being nearly enough as Chicago ends up walking out of Chase with the victory. So this ends up being a bad loss. Point blank, bottom line, as we bring Greg Silver back in, it's a brutal loss. It negates last night. It puts the Warriors right back in that spot where you look at the standings, and they're right there, basically hand in hand, essentially, with the Lakers, both 4 games over 500. Dallas won, Sac won, Phoenix won tonight. Those are the 6, 7, and 8s in front of the Warriors at 9, and they're basically in the virtual tie with the Lakers for 9 and 10. And on top of it now, potentially no Steph Curry for at least some period of time. Again, at this point, if you're a Warriors fan or you're a player or member of the organization, you're just hoping it's days as opposed to weeks, as Steph already icing down that ankle in the locker room postgame, according to the head coach, Steve Kerr. So not enough energy tonight, Greg. I think it's twofold. It's the game, and then it's sort of what's left in the season, and how much of it you may have to play without Stephen Curry, who coming into tonight had played 58 of the 61 Warriors games. So missing, 3 games on the season. And, we've talked about it a few times, Greg, the fact that Steph has, in each of these last really 5 years, he's going to miss 20 or more. And it hadn't been the case to this point. You're hoping it doesn't get to that point, obviously, because it would basically mean he's missing the rest of the regular season. But the Warriors haven't really had to deal with life without Steph Curry, and it's a big part of the reason why this team is still in a position where it didn't get farther from 500 before they made their run. Greg, your kind of general thoughts on the game overall, as far as second of a back-to-back, and the Warriors just not having it. A definite letdown off of the game against the Bucks last night.
Yeah, it's funny. We revisited our question of the night with Raph before we connected you to officially begin Dubs OT once the game went final. And I made the point that I'm going to stand by my answer from last night, in that losing this game does negate last night if you're going to play the numbers game and talk about the standings. And yeah, there's still 9, but now it's a game and a half out of 8th behind Dallas, when you headed into today thinking, wow, they got a chance to leapfrog Dallas and go into 8. And I think, to me, what it illustrates more than anything, and this is what I spoke about at the top of the show, was the Warriors have been playing much better basketball. Like, this doesn't cancel that out. They are still 14-5 in their last 19. But what it is an illustration of how razor thin that margin of error really is, because you could go and beat the Milwaukee Bucks by 35 points at home and everything's clicking, and Trace Jackson-Davis has a career night off the bench and saves your team from collapsing again. But you also could have nights where Steph Curry just doesn't have it shooting, and Jonathan Kuminga, has 19 but really makes some mistakes and bad shot selection and a defensive play of his own. And you could lose to a Bulls team at home that really has no business going anywhere, and Zach LaVine's been out. And again, I just think you couldn't finish the game with Draymond Green because he fouled out. You couldn't finish the game with Stephen Curry because of the ankle injury, and you weren't able to get it done. And that's not because they couldn't make shots. Like, Klay Thompson had a big 3. Chris Paul even made a 3 late in the game. Obviously the Podziemski layup was a brutal one that just sometimes happens when you play enough games in the NBA and are put in clutch situations. It's tough, but the margin for error is thin. It's not that they're a bad team or that they haven't turned things around. It's that they need many, many, many things to go right. And when a couple of them don't, they're a team that could lose to the Chicago Bulls at home.
Yeah, and look, I thought tonight the game was trending toward the Warriors were going to steal it down the stretch, had Curry not gone out. So it's all kind of connected in tonight, right? Like, they didn't have it, but, you look at, some nights, some teams don't have it, but are they capable to find it enough down the stretch and basically steal the game? And it felt like, all right, maybe the Warriors are going to have enough to build a cushion early. They didn't build that cushion early. The Bulls then dominate the middle 2 quarters, but the Warriors come back in the fourth quarter. They get it to a point where they have the 3-point lead with about 4 minutes to go, and there's momentum there to where you're thinking if they can just execute, get a couple of stops, couple of buckets, you can win it, you can escape, you can keep the momentum going and take your off day tomorrow before you play San Antonio a couple of times and just feel good about the accomplishment of not playing your best but still finding a way to win. Steph goes out, and, I think the importance of winning this game actually went up when Steph went out, because it was a game where you basically only had to play 4 minutes with a 3-point lead to be able to get a win, in essence, without Steph. So, especially not knowing for how long he's going to be out. So, yeah, you could make the case if the Warriors had played with more urgency earlier, if they hadn't let the Bulls cook, then maybe they're up up by more, and they're able to still win that game even without Steph Curry down the stretch. But it doesn't change the fact, big picture, as we kind of do the, immediate post-game show, reaction, tough loss, inability to execute. How about Brandon Podziemski, missing the layup with the opportunity to tie, just blew the wide-open layup, blew it. And, that's the kind of thing that a young rookie player will certainly learn from being in that position. But maybe they're still playing over at Chase if Podziemski's able to hit that. and the Warriors could at least get that pad. Because the first thing that I think of, Greg, is, well, shoot, the Warriors are going to need a little bit more of a cushion than they would need otherwise if Stephen Curry was going to be fully in the fold here down the stretch of the season.
I mean, if you don't have Stephen Curry available, you could very well lose to the Spurs. I'll just put that out there right now.
You could lose it. You can lose any game to any team without a doubt. And I know people are probably saying, "Well, you can lose any game to any team." I mean, yes, but the way the Warriors have been playing the last few weeks, they were gonna, with Steph, they're gonna win Saturday and win Monday probably in all likelihood. I know Wembanyama didn't play tonight. He's not going to play Saturday. The target date for his return is the Monday game against the Warriors in San Antonio. The Warriors and Spurs are playing consecutive games. San Francisco Saturday and in San Antonio on Monday. And it looks like Wembanyama's got a shot to be able to play in the game on Monday. But no, the Warriors, those are probably 2 wins with Stephen Curry. Probably 90% 2 wins. Now, I mean, you're going to have to play pretty well without Steph to be able to win. And here's the reality, Greg. The Warriors need both of those games. If they're going to play, let's just say the Warriors are going to have to play the next 4 games without Steph Curry. Well, you know how you hold down hold it down and survive it? You beat San Antonio twice. I mean that's how that's how you survive it, and how you put yourself in a position where you look up if it ends up being a 10-day to 2-week thing, and you're right basically in the same position that you are right now, with an opportunity still to push forward and 16 games to go in the regular season at that particular point in time.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see not just the quotes from postgame, but also the vibe. We got Klay Thompson at the podium right now. We had Moses Moody speak a little bit earlier. We had Steve Kerr, of course, and no real update on the Stephen Curry injury, like you said. JD, I'm going to go run into the other room, actually, for about 2 minutes and help one of our newer guys who's been doing a great job holding it down tonight. So I will be back. I'll let you know when I'm back. But keep doing your thing, because the YouTube chat's popping off, and we got our regulars in the house, and I love it.
Yeah, I know the YouTube chat's going off. We're going to dive into the YouTube chat here as Greg tends to some business. 808 KNBR is the number. 808 KNBR, the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line here on The Sports Leader. We got a few text messages to get to here. And we will do that. I also want to dive into the YouTube chat and just going to kind of start from the top here as we've been rolling for about 45 minutes here. Dubs OT with JD on KNBR, the Sports Leader. Rebel to Sounds, the Bulls are very average at best. Not even a good three-point shooting team. No, but tonight was one of those nights where the Warriors gave them enough good looks to where on a given night any team can be a decent three-point shooting team, and the Bulls were actually an excellent three-point shooting team tonight, 16 of 36. But a lot of that to me was the defensive intensity and energy that the Warriors played with, or lack thereof, that the Warriors played with really from about the 4-minute mark of the first quarter up until they got down 10 going to the fourth quarter. And I think that's when they really picked it up and really started to scrap and fight. And try to be able to rally and come back in this game. But when you look at it, it's rough. So it's a tough night for Golden State. But the Bulls have been playing much better. They got off to a horrendous start. And then it wound up, they're playing a lot better. On a given night, they could be a pretty good defensive team. DeRozan and Vucevic are the two guys that you can't let get rolling, and the Warriors were able to let them get rolling in this one tonight. Douglas Mikes with a little bit of perspective moving forward here. I just want the young players to continue to look so good that we have options in the summer, and I think that is a quality big picture point. I think, because if Kuminga continues to play at the level he's played at, then you either keep Kuminga because he looks like somebody that's, blossoming potentially into a future, all-star caliber type player, or he gives you the opportunity in terms of his value around the league to be a player that another team may covet. Chris Paul's still got that $30 million contract option. I don't want to do a full-blown off-season show here on March the 7th, but the point is an important one, that, if Moody continues to prove that he's a rotation player, if Kuminga continues to do his thing, if TJD and Podziemski continue to do their thing, you're obviously not going to deal all of them, or even most of them, but they could be included in a deal that may help you get that true number 2 option next to Steph Curry, because I know a lot of people in the Bay are high on Jonathan Kuminga. His improvement has been dramatic, I think, in terms of his impact over the last almost 2 months now. It's really been about 7 weeks. But the question that the Warriors are going to have to ask themselves in the offseason is, do you believe that Jonathan Kuminga is truly a number 2 on a playoff series winning? Like, is Jonathan Kuminga the number 2 option next year for a team that can get to the second round or get to a conference finals? And if the answer to that question is no, as much as it would hurt to look to move a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, he's got a hell of a lot more value than he did 2 months ago when he didn't have a lot of value and teams were basically demanding him for and more for some of these other players that were coveted. Amar Singh, Bulls are not good. They're not good, but they do have a couple of really good, capable players in Vucevic and DeRozan, and I like Kobe White even as well. Erwin Kwong chiming in. Bulls had a good road record since the beginning of the year. They have played much better on the road. There's no doubt, and they just have played much better overall since they got off to a pretty horrific start for them. And now they're have bounced back and have been a thorn. They won in Sacramento the other night. That was a game that the Kings lament, and it was kind of a similar trajectory in some ways. Kings got up on them early. Bulls came back, kind of owned a good chunk of the end of the first quarter and second quarter. Kings then jumped them again toward the end of the second quarter and third quarter, had a 22-point lead, and then Chicago dominated the fourth quarter to be able to rally and win. A lot of comments about the Bulls. Erwin cheers JD and Greg for doing the hard work during the week. Yeah, this has been some nights are like last night where we're all having a good time and we're all fired up and there's extreme optimism and everybody's feeling good. But some nights get flipped completely on their head, and tonight got flipped completely on its head. It looked like the worst thing that was going to happen, Greg, for the Warriors tonight was, they might take an L in a game that they really needed off of a huge win. Maybe one of their top 2 or 3 wins of the season. And it ends up being they lose, and they lose Steph Curry. And as Regulator pointed out in the YouTube chat, and we talked about a little bit earlier, all the teams ahead of the Warriors immediately, Dallas, Sacramento, Phoenix, all got wins. So the Warriors lose a game in the standings to them, and then it winds up being another one of those nights where it's kind of a back to the drawing board night, Greg.
If I can take a page out of our guy Erwin's book, and cheers to you, Erwin, I would just say that tonight is like hosting a dinner party, and you realize that the giant bag of shredded cheese that you had as a key ingredient for the meal that you're going to cook for all your friends and a couple of their significant others, there's just a fat thing of mold in there when you open up the bag. So then you got to kind of figure it out on the fly, and not everything's ruined. It's all okay, but it's a bit of an inconvenience, and you're just kind of working around it. Like, that's what tonight is right now. And now we found a substitute for the cheese. We're rolling along the show. JD's at Harmonic. Everything's good. Adam Copeland's in the chat, and it's all going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, the good news, I will spin one little bit of positivity The good news is the Warriors, and I want to make sure I have my updated standings here, but the good news is the Warriors are still, even with the loss tonight, they are 5.5 games ahead of Utah for being in the play-in tournament, and 6 games ahead of Houston. So they have a significant gap if Steph is out for a lengthy period of time. Like if Steph was out for, let's just say Steph's out for the rest of the regular season. Well, the Warriors are probably going to be the 10 seed. And it's not even probably. I mean, the Warrior, if it's announced, Steph's got to miss 4 to 6 weeks, likely to come back for a play-in tournament game. Well, good luck. The Warriors are going to be on the road as the 10, playing the 9 in all likelihood. But the good news is they would at least have that opportunity afforded to them because they have enough of a cushion from 10 to 11. And that, Greg, has really been the one thing that the Warriors, that's been the one that their hot streak has done. It has been creating that level of separation to where at least, and I'm trying to pose a shred of positivity on a really rough night for Dub Nation, but it is something. It is a small token.
Yeah, it's a small token. You gotta take the little wins where you can tonight. I'm laughing now because the chat's having fun with my analogy. They're saying I don't cook. I actually have been cooking, but it was a pretty bad analogy. I'll give you that. They're saying I can just work around the mold in the cheese bag. I mean, I guess, but I still get a little weirded out, when it's just like there. And
it depends. It really does depend, doesn't it? Like, I mean, sometimes you can work around. Sometimes you just got to throw the whole bag out.
Yeah, like I made lasagna this week. Very proud of that one, and no spoiled cheese. So we'll get back on track with the Warriors here. But yeah, it's like I don't know what is this Curry injury going to be? Are we talking 2 games? In which case, it's like okay, that was a blip and could have been a lot worse. And he's you said he's played 58 of the 61. But
yeah, 58 or. Yeah, I think 58 of the 60. I think 59 of the 62 now, right? Because we're at 62, I think, after tonight. So I think it's 59 of the 62.
Yeah. Okay. So if he's going to miss 10 now, that's 3 times the amount he's missed all season. And this is a team that already had no margin for error to begin with. Like, the thing about the Warriors, too, is like they have played better and they have made up ground, but they just haven't made up ground in the seeding. I think they were 11 and now they're 9 or whatever, but the West is so good that you're not just going to jump to 5 with a nice little 14-4 win streak. That we were texting the other night about, I was like, oh, the Clippers going to start losing some games, and you're like, yeah, the Warriors ain't going 21-1, dude.
Yeah, like at the pace in which the Clippers have played the whole season, the Warriors would have to go 21-1 or would have had to have gone 21 or 22-1 over their final 22 or 23 games to basically reach the pace that the Clippers are currently on, even with the losses that the Clippers have taken of late. Couple of people chiming in. Wiggins has to step up. Jesus M. Wiggins has to step up if Curry is out. Robert, if the play-in didn't exist, it'd probably be a lot easier to say the Warriors are fully cooked tonight. No, they're not fully cooked. But they may be getting thrown on the barbecue. There's no doubt if Stephen Curry winds up being out for a lengthy. What you don't want to hear is 4 to 6 weeks, and Steph's probably going to try to push the envelope on that. But just looking at the calendar, as I'm prone to do, Greg. As we sit here, we're basically 5 weeks plus 2 days from the end of the regular season. The regular season, when we get to Sunday, it's 5 weeks away. So any kind of, if it's a 4-week injury for Steph Curry, then you're basically talking about Steph, being back for the final week of the regular season, and that at most for the Warriors would give them 5 games, basically. The final 5 games. Utah, Lakers, Portland, the Pelicans, and then Utah again at Chase Center the final 2 Sundays in a schedule oddity. Utah is at Chase Center both on April 7 and April 14. But, it's, 4 weeks basically means you got to play 15 games without Steph. And at that point in time, I don't think the Warriors could be anything other than 10th, which is unfortunate, considering the fact that this team had so many things going for them and had so much positive momentum. And really up until tonight, Greg, the pieces had really started to fit together. And so I think that's where it is. Just as we're starting to wonder what could this Warriors team be, now it's like, damn it. Like, are we ever truly going to get to find out? I think what this Warriors team could be. We'd feel a little robbed, I feel like, if we don't get a chance to see it. But, again, no official word on Stephen Curry's injury to this point. No word on, the extent of the injury. Steve Kerr said in his postgame press conference he hadn't spoken with the trainers. The only update he did give was that Curry was icing it down postgame in the Golden State Warriors locker room. 808 KNBR is the number. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Let's go ahead and pause here. We'll come back. We'll get a little Sounds of Silver coming back as well. We still have some time to react. We'll get more comments from the folks on YouTube and Twitch out here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. It's Dubs OT with JD, KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
This sucks.
more blue and gold. This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
Did you hear something?
Yeah, like a swoosh.
Yeah.
Dubs OT presents the sounds of silver. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
10 to shoot, 12 left in the game. Pajemski driving to lay it up and out. Missed the layup, and they're going to foul Vucevic right away.
Yeah. Trace Jackson-Davis set such a great screen there late to get him to the basket free, but it looked like he couldn't figure out how he wanted to finish. He went with his left, but it was just a little awkward since he's on the right side, even though he's left-handed, but he couldn't just twist it in there. Couldn't put the English on the ball off the glass.
Yeah, the switch to the left is what did Brandon Pajemski in. He was right there on the right, just go up with the right and lay it in, and we had to have a tie game, and maybe they're still playing an hour plus later over at Chase Center, but not meant to be. Warriors did foul. A couple of free throws put them down 4. CP3 ended up hitting a 3, but the Warriors had to foul again, and the Warriors were out of timeouts, which was going to mean that the best that the Dubs could do was a Lester Quinones prayer in the closing seconds as the Bulls win at 125-122 over at Chase tonight, and the Warriors still not playing well enough at home this season. That's the one thing, Stephen Curry injury or no, letdown or no, back-to-back or no. Bulls, by the way, were in the second of a back-to-back themselves as Chicago played last night in Salt Lake City and won 119-117. So the Bulls and Salt Lake City to the Bay is no joke when you're playing a game at altitude and then coming here, and they probably got in late, hour time difference, all of that. And so, the Bulls get a couple of wins in back-to-back fashion. Impressive for them. But back-to-back or no, this is a Warriors team that is 17-16 at home. And for all of the momentum that has been built, and we are all holding our breath on Steph Curry, this team's 16-13 on the road after winning 11 games last year away from Chase Center. They are 17-16 at home, and that straight up, flat out isn't good enough. And if the Warriors end up being a play-in team and out, or they make the first round and lose, I think a big part of what the Warriors will lament about this season is the inability. They fixed the road woes, but the inability to be even semi-dominant inside Chase Center has just absolutely kneecapped them this season. And tonight, again, independent of the injury and all of that, they just have not been a good team inside Chase Center. And 17-16 for a road record, that's just bad. And I'm looking at it right now. 17-16 is the worst by far among the top 10 teams, and even Utah, who's the odd team out. Utah and Houston, the first two teams out of the play-in tournament. Utah's 19-12 at home. The Rockets are 21-11 at home. And so, the Warriors have the, 12th best home record in the Western Conference? That's unacceptable. That is and again, this team's played better of late, but you look at their losses. Look at their losses since January the 24th. Home game to Sacramento, home game to the Lakers, home game to Denver, home game to the Clippers, home game to the Bulls. And then you look at the road, and it's been, Atlanta and Boston, basically, over that very same stretch. And so the Warriors just have not been able to find the right rhythm and combinations and appropriate fear and force or whatever it is, even during this stretch where they've played much better basketball at home. It's still been problematic. So 808 KNBR, the number. Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. We'll keep this thing rolling here until maybe a little bit after 11. Still got a good house and crew here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. We got Julia and Grace tonight. Julia and Grace closing shop up here tonight. Appreciate them. Saw Mike earlier, Jimmy. Just a great crew here at Harmonic Brewing, and a lot of folks enjoying a couple of brews here before they head off into the night. Spencer Alsey on the YouTube chat. Warriors versus Lakers playing. If I had to bet, if Steph Curry's going to miss significant time, I would bet Warriors-Lakers or Warriors-Dallas. I'm still not totally sold on Dallas. I do not think Sacramento's dip into the 9-10. That I will say. I don't know if they're getting to 5-6. I think they've actually got a shot to get to 6. Although they've been an inconsistent team. They almost and probably should have lost to San Antonio tonight, but didn't. Talking about the Kings, but I think the Kings have enough to be able to avoid 9-10. I will say that. Avoid 9-10, and they have the tiebreaker on both the Warriors and the Lakers. They beat the Lakers again down in Southern California last night as well. Douglas Mikes, I feel like this game was over when the Bulls went on that 14-point run because the Warriors just love taking bad threes, brain-dead threes. The Warriors, I think shot selection was an issue for the Warriors at different points tonight. I thought energy level was a problem for the Warriors tonight. You know, Greg, I'm just kind of running through some of my notes. I mean, everything happened at the end of the game tonight, right? The injury, the comeback, Pajemski's missed layup. The Warriors, were fighting. But just kind of running through this, I didn't love the Warriors and forcing. They were almost forcing the ball to Kuminga, it felt like, in the early going, and he took some bad shots. Draymond's making threes, but the energy just wasn't there. But they ended up having a really nice run there to jump out to the 13-point lead. But the 4-point play, Kuminga gave up 3 and 1s tonight. Now, DeRozan didn't hit the free throw on one of them, but they were all – DeRozan just obliterated Kuminga tonight. Again, learning experience.
Are we allowed to have the Jonathan Kuminga needs work on defense conversation? Like, is that okay? Do we have permission?
Yeah. Well, yes, and we can. Yeah. I mean, look, he had 19 points, so I think it's unfair to say he had a bad offensive game. He was inefficient offensively, and you may say, well, he had all those free throws. He took some bad shots. I don't even want to talk about the offensive game because he ended up with 19 points. But, yes, he had a bad defensive game against a really good freaking player, but he had a bad defensive game. Again, learning experience. I mean, if you want to add to that, that's fine. But, I mean, look, if he's going to become your second or third most important player, then you're going to have to live with the fact that there may be some players that kick his ass here and there. And you know what? DeRozan kicked his ass tonight.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it's not that it's unacceptable for Kuminga to not have bad games or bad stretches or struggle at one particular area on certain nights. I get that the kid is 21 years old and this is his first season of getting real and consistent run, but I think it's just sometimes we got to pump the brakes on Kuminga being a second option, and you do have to ask yourself, if this team gets into a playoff series, is it fair to give him the responsibility of being a true number 2 of throughout a playoff series when you're going to not be the home team for a majority of the games?
Yeah, two things on that. Like, it may not be fair, but it is probably the Warriors' reality. Here's the thing about Kuminga, though. I love Kuminga's game when it's just, and I say this every night, when it's just in the flow. Like, I don't love when the Warriors are, like, actively going to him. Like, I like it when it's like he gets the ball in the context of the offense, he drives to the bucket, or he gets the ball, boom, one move, dunk. He gets a steal because he's playing great defense, throws it down, awesome. Like that, like I love that. I don't love when it's like, hey, we're going to run this ISO for him to get it 15 feet out and go to work. That part of it, I don't love as much. But the reality is he's played well enough over the last 2 months, let's just say roughly, to where, you know what? He can have a bad game, and it's part of the learning. It's part of the learning curve. It's part of the deal. But you may get beat. But here's the thing. If it's part of the deal, Greg, you may get beat because of it. And again, that's okay. That's not putting it on him, but sometimes your greatest strengths become your greatest weaknesses, and the fact that he's become one of their great strengths could ultimately become one of their great weaknesses.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And like you've said many times throughout the course of this year, how they finish the season will say a lot about the attitude, the energy, and the approach going into the offseason. Why don't we get to the caller we have on the line, and then we'll get to some sounds. How does that sound?
Yeah, let's get to the caller. Jonathan is up next here on KNBR, the sports leader. 808 KNBR, the number. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, JD. Total 360 from last night. I liked the first quarter, didn't like the second and the third. Was very impressed with the fourth quarter comeback, but I felt like I was reliving Atlanta, Sacramento in January all over again. And same ending, same story. I'm looking ahead to the schedule and thinking, I hope their playoff chances don't come down to that Miami Heat game, because that would be my worst nightmare. But otherwise, to end this season like this, I had a winning season. The Heat finally win at Chase Center. I saw the Warriors beat the Celtics. I saw the Warriors beat the Bucks. They got the great game against Becky. They beat Houston in November. So glass half full, I could say, 5-3 is not bad, all things considered. But Sacramento, Denver, and then Chicago, of all teams, to Steve Kerr. This is not the Michael Jordan Bulls of my childhood. This is Vucevic, DeRozan, and, they don't even have Zach LaVine right now. So,
yeah, although sometimes LaVine can actually help you, or can actually help your opponent, because he takes some bad shots, and I don't know. For some reason, Jonathan, you may disagree, and it's totally fair. I feel like against the Warriors, DeRozan and Vucevic, it's almost better to not have to worry about LaVine, because LaVine kind of takes away from those two, who specifically can hurt the Warriors in ways that they are extremely vulnerable, let's say.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm looking more long terms ahead to, are they going to – I didn't even see the injury to Steph, and so I'm thinking, are they going to be able to survive these couple weeks without him at least? Where will they be by that point? I don't want them to win the Miami game, but also the Orlando game is going to be tough right after. That's another, rough East Coast trip. And then, they've got some home games mixed in left, but, they're running out of games. They're running out of time. And I won't be back because I have to start prepping for baseball, and I'm going to Tampa Saturday. Yeah, so, we'll see. Right now, though, I'm feeling a little bit better about the Heat, but then they lost to the Mavericks tonight. So it feels like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and that's what it's been like all season. So, we'll find out in these final few weeks. But I'll still be watching, but not the way I want to say goodbye to Chase Center, since I won't be back till October at the earliest. So we'll see. It's a tough one tonight, though.
Totally understandable. Thanks, Jonathan. And look, the Warriors have a couple of winnable games, and a couple of people were asking on the YouTube chat as far as Wembanyama. He did not play tonight in Sacramento. The Spurs did almost and probably should have won that game late. The Kings kind of stole it. But he's not going to play the game in San Francisco. He's already been ruled out for the game on Saturday at Chase. But the Warriors play the Spurs again in San Antonio on Monday. So it's Spurs at home Saturday, on the road Monday. And Greg Popovich told reporters in Sacramento tonight that their target date for Wembanyama to return is Monday, which is the home game for San Antonio, road game for the Warriors, coming up in a couple of days. So, yeah, that's the status there. But, yeah, the Spurs usually do fight and give an honest effort, even if they are and under-talented kind of a club. But these two games almost become absolutely must-have-to wins, games for the Warriors. 808 KNBR, the number. Greg, do we have a couple of sounds here? Do we want to take a quick break
cuts
and come back? We do have some time. We can go a little bit beyond 11 tonight here. If you want, do you want? But it's up to you. You want to roll now? You want to take a quick break?
Let's go through our cuts. We can take a quick break and come back with fun with numbers, final thoughts.
And we'll do some fun with numbers. Yeah, we'll do some fun with numbers. We'll do a few more YouTube comments from some of the regulars that have stuck with us on kind of an awkward night for a lot of different reasons. I know you guys have had some issues in the studio. I had to swap out a couple of cables here with my headset and my connection to the studio. There was a rowdy crew next to me here at Harmonic, and the game was really made up at the end, with the Curry injury and, some critical plays down the stretch, which always makes for sometimes an uneasy. And also, by the way, Greg, before we get to you, I want to say this. Billy Joe and Alamo stopped by. He said hi, and he said, playing tournament, we need an old number 7 JD after this one tonight or a silver Patron for Greg Silver. He gave me that message and said hi, and I bought Billy Joe from Alamo a brew here at Harmonic Brewing. So appreciate him for stopping by and saying hi. I wanted to make sure we got that in before Sounds of Silver, but the floor is yours, my friend.
Hey, you know what? That legitimately improved my night. That made me happy to hear that Billy Joe from Alamo was out there showing you love in person.
And there have been a few others who have stopped by, but the others who have stopped by have been like, you know what, I just wanted to say hi, I'm heading out, like rain check on the beer. But Billy Joe was the first one that was like, I'm in, like give me the brew. So he did.
Let's go. Hey, Billy Joe, if you're listening to this podcast or listening to us live, I just want to let you know we see you. That's awesome, and you're a big part of the show.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciate it. What do we got tonight, Greg?
We're going to go through some Steve Kerr and some Klay Thompson as far as our Sounds of Silver tonight.
Yeah, okay.
We'll start with, I guess we'll just start with a quick 7-seconder because you already shared the quote, but we got to put it over the airwaves. It's Steve Kerr addressing Steph's injury and doesn't really have a whole lot to offer at the moment.
I don't know yet. Yeah, he's got his foot in a bucket of ice right now. I haven't talked to the training staff yet.
There you go. Short and to the point, but the best that we have at this particular point in time, Greg.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason I want to play it is because you can always read either verbal cues or body language if you have it on video and stuff like that. So, it didn't sound too
what did you think?
Somber. I didn't think it sounded like anything overly concerning. I think it sounded as a genuine, we don't know, and I just lost, and that stunk, and I really hope he's not hurt. But
so you're not going to say it sounded more like 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks, as opposed to 4 to 6. You're not willing to go there.
I think it sounded like Steve Kerr was not told, this isn't good.
Okay, well that's and he probably would have been told it isn't good if it wasn't good. I do want to add, Draymond did speak to Anthony Slater in the locker room and other reporters, but Slater is who posted this. Draymond said spirits are high. We'll see. Think he may get an MRI. So Slater with the hat tip there as Draymond weighed in on Steph and Curry from the locker room. Steph was not in the locker room during the time in which reporters were let in to the locker room.
I mean, that makes sense. It's good to see Draymond in good spirits. He's always an interesting one post-game, but we don't have any Draymond sound tonight.
Well, good spirits, I think, as it's specifically related to Steph. I think that was part of the question there. So
Gotcha.
I would read that as a good sign, as much as there is any at this point.
Well, let's keep it moving with Steve Kerr. He comments on the lack of energy and inability to put pressure on the Bulls when they sort of made that second half push. Here's what he had to say.
Energy, it just didn't feel like we were pressuring the ball, rotating quickly. It just felt like we never impacted them. They kind of got into their stuff. We had occasional good possessions, but never felt like we had a stretch in the game where we kind of locked them down for a few minutes where we could make a run. So, they scored 125, shot 53%, 16 threes. They deserve to win.
Yeah, no, they deserve to win. I think the Warriors were going to steal it if Steph doesn't go out, and then they lose Draymond on top of that. But I think when you focus out from the injury, the Podziemski layup, the Warriors' ability to not steal the game in the final minutes, I do think tonight you look at the way the game played out and the box score at the end of it and all of those things, Greg, it was about defense. And it was about energy. I think those two things were definitely the Warriors it was a letdown game, and then it was a bad defensive game, which allowed the Chicago Bulls to get comfortable, and they end up putting 125 on the Dubs.
Yeah, they sure did, and we're actually getting a few extra cuts as we come in right now.
Sweet.
So you know what? We're going to skip the last Steve Kerr one I had planned because it largely delivered a similar message to the one that you just heard. Let's go over to Klay Thompson.
Keep it moving.
And Klay Thompson has about 48 seconds of this one talking about Brandon Podziemski and saying that you tend to be hard on yourself when you're younger, but he thinks the young rook is, by and large, going to be just fine.
Well, it's part of the process. I mean, he made a great move. I love that he was aggressive to the rim. It happens. He just shorted it, and BP is going to be a great player for a long, long time. He does so many things that don't show up in the box score, whether it's taking charges or reversing the ball or penetrating the lane. So one missed shot isn't going to alter my view of him in that situation again. I know he'll have plenty of huge moments in his career, plenty of game winners, and we all go through it. I went through it my rookie year. I went through it my sophomore year in this league where I missed 2 free throws against the Nuggets to win the game, and I think I left the arena in my uniform, so it just stings a little more when you're younger and you don't have as much experience under you, but he'll be fine. I mean, that was a great look.
Yeah, it was, and no doubt. I mean, I agree with Klay as far as it doesn't change anything about how you feel about Podziemski. It just was a big part of the reason why you lost a pretty important game, which is obviously unfortunate. But no, it does. And yeah, I mean, you remember Greg. I think you're old enough to remember. I'm kidding. I like the Clay-ups his rookie year. Klay was terrible. He was terrible at layups in really early part of his career. He got really good at it. And yeah, I mean, every young player has moments where they don't come through, and you learn from them and move on. So it stings because it could have still allowed the Warriors to steal the game even without Steph if he makes it and ties the game in that situation. But he didn't hit it, and the Warriors ended up taking the L. But no, big picture on Podziemski, it doesn't change much of anything, really.
Well, another reason I wanted to play a Klay Thompson cut, and as I sorted through his sound, was kind of picking up on the fact that I don't think he sounded overly bummed out. Like, Klay's someone I also wanted to take some cues from, and if it seemed like the immediate prognosis of a Steph Curry ankle was not looking very optimistic, I think we would have heard a little different tone in Klay's voice. I know he's always kind of mellow and a little bit monotone and relaxed, and we have Steph Curry, but I don't think he sounded like somber Klay that we've heard at a couple other low points in the year.
Oh, I thought we were going to play the cut.
Oh,
so,
no,
was
no,
there
no,
another
no,
cut?
no. I was just commenting on
okay.
Klay's vibe.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that confusion.
Okay, gotcha. No. Sorry, that's good. So that's it as far as the cuts that we do have.
Yeah, so we have 2 more, and they're both short.
Okay.
And they're from somebody that we don't get to hear a lot from, and that's Moses Moody.
My bad. I thought we were setting up another Klay cut. No, let's hear from Moses Moody.
It's that kind of night here on Dubs OT.
That's all right.
Yeah, we're doing good. We're still enjoying it. We have 2 cuts on Moody. One is from about learning from mistakes in a loss like this, and then the other is about the team's effort in the fourth quarter and what he thought about that. So let's start with learning from mistakes in a loss. It's a quickie.
Yeah, you always learn from bad situations, whether that's a loss, whether that's an adversity, an obstacle, whatever it is. So it's a lot easier to learn from a loss than it is a win.
So there you go. And again, what's the teaching point or the learning point for the Warriors tonight? Second game of a back-to-back against a lesser team, although the Bulls don't have a totally dramatically different record than the Warriors. They're only one game under 500. So you look at the Warriors at 4 over. I mean, basically there's a 2.5 game separation between these two teams, which it doesn't feel like it, given the way the Warriors have played lately. But if there is a teachable moment, it's you got to come out and have energy and no letdowns and play much better defense, I think, than the Warriors did tonight.
I was going to say, not that this should have been the lesson for only tonight and possibly many other games, but it's that you can't just show up and expect to win just because you're on your home floor.
No, and unfortunately, I think the Warriors have done a little bit too much of that over the course of this season in particular. Last year, no, 33-8, it kept them afloat. This year, 17-16. Bottom line, just not good enough. What else do we got tonight? We got one more.
One more from Moody, commenting on the team's effort in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we definitely picked it up later in the game, but we competed. It's always hard to get that energy on the second half of back-to-back, but we competed. I feel like we did a good job of doing that. They made a lot of shots. They got to the free throw line. Hats off to them.
Yeah, and you look at the free throws tonight, the Warriors actually, believe it or not, got to the free throw line more than Chicago did. I would not have thought that off without keeping tabs on it throughout the night. The Warriors had a +6 at the free throw line in terms of points scored and a +5 in terms of free throws attempted, and a big part of that was J.K. And his 9 of 10 at the free throw line, which basically offset DeRozan's 10 of 11 at the free throw line. So ultimately, that wasn't what did the Warriors in the free throw line specifically, or fouls, or those kinds of things. But too much DeMar DeRozan, too much Vucevic, absolutely is what did the Warriors in. Great stuff from Greg Silver. Let's go ahead and pause here. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up. Fun with numbers as the Warriors lose to the Bulls 125-122. It is KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, final segment here from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Appreciate everybody out here, including a few who have stopped by and said hi tonight. It is Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. Greg Silver, Raf Corral, everybody in our San Francisco studios. I want to thank them as well. Greg, did we leave anybody out tonight? I know it's been kind of a goofy night out here. It's been kind of a goofy night there as well.
Well, Kyle Chung has been a huge asset to our station as a whole tonight, and he's been chipping in on a little bit of post-game sound, too. So big thank you to Kyle as well.
Awesome. Thanks to Kyle Chung. Appreciate his help. Tremendous stuff. Again, before we get out of here, just let everybody know, no firm update on Stephen Curry. All we got really from Steve Kerr was, hadn't talked to the training staff yet, but was icing the ankle in a bucket of ice in the locker room. Steph not around when reporters were allowed into the locker room, and nobody that was interviewed had really any detail, but nobody seemed overly alarmed. So we'll just kind of wait there as we wait to get more tomorrow and potentially Saturday, as Steph will likely go for an MRI first thing tomorrow morning. All right, final segment here, fun with numbers, some not so fun numbers tonight. Warriors have lost now 2 of the last 3 games as they are 33-29, 17-16 at home. We've talked about it all night. 17-16, not good enough. 8 games to go on the Chase Center hardwood. San Antonio next up on Saturday. Chicago ended an 8-game losing streak to the Warriors in the Bay. They hadn't won at Chase Center. Chicago never won at Chase in their times since the building opened. Their last win came over at Oracle. And if you remember, Greg, do you remember, Chicago's last win against the Dubs in the Bay was during the 73-9 year. The Bulls with Derrick Rose were one of the teams that actually went to Oracle and won. One of, I want to say, 3 home losses that the Warriors had in the 73-9 campaign.
I do remember that because I think walking into the locker room, as Curry was walking into the locker room and the camera was following him, I think Marv Albert might have been on the call and made the mistake of saying that now they can only match the Bulls. And I'm thinking, wait, what happened? Like, where did this other loss come from? It was inaccurate at the time. Just a mistake by one of the greats.
It was. I was going to say that was extremely inaccurate, and I'm actually going back through it right now and looking at, and it was a mistake. I just made a mistake in going back and trying to look at it here. I brought up the Bulls 2015-16 season, and I want to do the Warriors 2015-16 season, and we'll go ahead and bring that up now here. And I think it was it was toward the end of January, if I remember correctly. It was January. No. Well, let's try to find it. When was it? It was in November. No, actually, it wasn't that year at all. Now that I think about it, I guess it was the next. It must have been the next season that Chicago won.
Nobody listened to us at all.
Nobody listened to us at all. I got that one wrong. But no, it was. You know what it was? I think it was the year before. I think it was actually the first championship year. And so I think that's where I got it wrong. Yes, it was. It was actually, and so here's what it was. It was not the 73-9 year, but it was January 27th of 2015 that the Bulls with Derrick Rose beat the Warriors 113-111 in overtime. The Warriors that year, this was the first championship seed. They were 36-6 before that loss. So not 73-9 pace, but they were 36-6 at that point when Chicago came in there and beat them. That was the last win, January 27th. So it's been 9 years, 8 games and the Bulls finally get one here in the Bay. They got that one over, obviously, in Oakland. This was the Dubs' 38th clutch game. The Bulls overcame a 13-point deficit. This is, unfortunately, Greg, this counts as another one of these blown leads. 11th time this season the Warriors have allowed an opponent to overcome a double-digit deficit, and the Warriors have lost that game. Another bit of unfortunate news tonight. Draymond Green had a triple-double. Now, he didn't finish the game, but Draymond Green had a triple-double, the 32nd regular season triple-double of Draymond Green's career. This was just the second time in the regular season ever that the Warriors have lost a game in which Draymond Green has had a triple-double. 30
this sucks.
and 2 are the Warriors in Draymond Green triple-doubles. 30 and 2 tonight. Unfortunately, one of the 2. We talked about Klay Thompson, 25 points off the bench, 22nd 20-point game for Klay. Jonathan Kuminga had a double-double, 19 and 10, and Moses Moody had a career-high tying 9 rebounds, 10 points to go with 9 boards. The unfortunate nugget of the night, and I know this is one that pops up in the notes after every single game, Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney tonight had his long streak of games played end tonight. 289 consecutive games, regular season and playoffs, the 5th longest streak in Warriors franchise history. Looney had played in 254 consecutive regular season games. He took a DNP coach's decision tonight for the first time in a long time. And so, yeah, I'm sure
so
Steve Kerr
bummed.
talked to him. I know, Greg, you were telling me during the break, bummed. I know we both really like Kevon Looney. It's been trending that way, though, for him and for Dario Saric. I don't think it's the end of either for the season as far as being in the rotation or Steve Kerr tapping him on the shoulder to go in and help. But, yeah, Kevon Looney's long streaks of games played consecutively do end in this one for the Warriors tonight. So that'll do it. Appreciate everybody tonight. San Jose Jazz fan Otis Bird III has chimed in. Rockin' New Era has chimed in a little bit late tonight. And everybody just kind of hoping the best, hoping for the best. Uncle Looney, DeRozan, amazing. Yeah, phenomenal DeMar DeRozan game. Erwin Kwong here tonight as well, and we appreciate everybody for checking in on YouTube and checking in on Twitch and checking in on Twitter here tonight on KNBR, the sports leader. Great job by everybody in our San Francisco studios. Greg, we're going to reconvene Saturday morning from 10 a.m. until noon. We'll do just Dubs. It is a YouTube and streaming and Twitter, all of those, Twitch, only program at 10 a.m. We'll talk about this one. We'll have some Stephen Curry news between now and then we've also got Dubs OT here at Harmonic on Saturday night. So final thoughts to you, my friend, before we call it a night here at Harmonic Brewing.
Yeah, I might have to make a little poll on social media and have all you Dubs devotees decide what my next cooking challenge is going to be after tonight. No fatigue for us on the second night of a back-to-back, JD. We're in peak form here in early March. And you know what? I'm very grateful, okay? Not a great night on the court. Wishing the best for Steph Curry's ankle. But by and large, this is pretty cool that we get to do this and hang out with all these people every night.
Absolutely. It's been tremendous. Thanks to Julia and Grace here at Harmonic Brewing for closing up shop. We'll talk to you Saturday. Bulls get the better of the Dubs, 125-122. It's been Dubs OT with JD, KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
10 to shoot, 12 left in the game. Podziemski driving to lay it up and out. Missed the layup, and they're going to foul Vucevic right away.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
We got Steph Curry.
The Warriors have the, 12th best home record in the Western Conference? That's unacceptable.
Oh, great! I hate it!
The only flow that's going is down a toilet.
A lot of games have stung this year. We've had a lot of heartbreaking losses.